Hello everyone, Zenith20 back again. In this video, we'll be discussing about the usage of operators in Visual Basic. So first of all, what are operators? Operators are symbols used to perform certain operations on values or variables. In Visual Basic, operators can be used for a variety of tasks such as math operations, manipulating strings, comparison operations, and more. Math operators are also used to perform calculation on numbers, while string and comparison operators manipulate strings and compare values. There are a few types of operators in Visual Basic, and the main ones include arithmetic operators, comparison operators, logical operators, concatenation operators, and assignment operators. We first have the arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators in Visual Basic allow you to do math in your code. They include things like the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, integer division, modulus, and exponentiation. When using arithmetic operators in Visual Basic, it's important to remember to use parentheses when doing multiple calculations to ensure the order of operations is respected, and to be aware of the data types used by the operators. Comparison operators. Comparison operators in Visual Basic allow you to compare two values and return a Boolean value. They include the less than operator, greater than operators, equal to operator, and not equal to operator. Additionally, Visual Basic has a few other comparison operators such as the less than or equal to operator and the greater than or equal to operators. Next, we have the logical operators. Logical operators in Visual Basic allow you to combine Boolean values and return the resultant Boolean. They include the AND operator, OR operator, and NOT operator. Concatenation operators. Concatenation operators are part of string handling in Visual Basic that allow you to combine strings and return a new string. They include things like the ampersand operator and the plus sign operator. Assignment operators. Assignment operators in Visual Basic allow you to assign a value to a variable. They include the equal sign and compound assignment operators such as the plus equals, minus equals, divide equals, integer divide equals, concatenate equals, and times equals. We will first start with the arithmetic operators. As you can see here, we have three variables defined here, a, b, and c as decimal, and I'll tell you later on why we're declaring it as a decimal. So we have a and b declared as the value of 10, and we're going to use the first arithmetic operator, which is the plus operator. So to use the operator, we should have two values on either side of the plus sign. Then if we're going to output the value of c, we'll get 20. Next, we will use the minus operator, and we will get the value 0. Because 10 minus 10, 0. We can also use the negative operator in this manner. If we are just putting the negative operator beside one of the variables, it will invert the value of that variable. We can see now that we have the value of minus 10. It has inversed the value of 10 to minus 10. Next, we have the multiplication operator. We'll multiply a with b, and the answer will be 100. And yes, the answer is 100. Next, we'll go with the division. Before you do the division, make sure that your variables are as a decimal, because it might be that your result may result into a decimal rather than an integer. So if your value is a decimal and if the data type is integer, the rest of the decimal part will be cut off and only the integer will be left. Let's assign the values of 5 and 2. And as you can see, we got the answer 2.5. Now we can invert this division, as this division gives us the quotient and the remainder. What if you only wanted the quotient? For that, we'll use the inverse slash, and that will give us the quotient only. As you can see, the result was 2.5, but we only got the integer part, which was 2. Next, we can use the mod, or in other words, the modulus. What this does is the opposite of the integer division, and it gives you the remainder. And when we'll run it, we'll see that we have the remainder 1, because 5 cannot be completely divisible by 2. So we get the remainder 1. Lastly, we will have the exponentiation operator, which is the caret sign. So we are defining c as a raised to the power b. So basically it is 5 raised to the power 2, and we get the answer 25. Now let's move on to comparison operators. We first of all have the equal sign, which is also the same as the assignment operator you see here. So we can compare two values even in the console.writeLine statement, as the comparison operators always return a Boolean value. So we'll compare A with B. So we're checking if A is equals to B, which it's definitely not. When we'll run this, we'll get a result as false. Next, we can check if A is greater than B using the forward angular sign, and we'll get our result as true. Next, we can use the lesser than sign to check if A is lesser than B, which it's obviously not, and we get our result as false. We can also use lesser than or equal to and greater than or equal to. So we can assign the B as 5, and we can check if A is greater than or equal to B. Now A is definitely not greater than B, but it is equals to B. It will still satisfy the condition and we will get true. And as you can see, we got the result. We can again do the same thing with the lesser than operator. Now, of course, A is definitely not lesser than B, but it's equal to B. So the result will be satisfied again. And we have a result as true. Lastly, we will have the not equals to, which is two angular brackets facing in the opposite direction. This will definitely result in false, as A and B are both equal and both are assigned the value of 5. And we get false, as both of the values are of course equal and not equal. Next, we'll move on to logical operators, which are quite same as comparison operators, but they compare Boolean values and return a Boolean value out of that. We'll discuss 3 of them in this video. First, let's discuss the AND operator. And for that, we'll have to write two conditions. So let's assign a third variable C as 10. For the first condition, we have A, which is equals to B, but for the second, we do not have C equals to B. And we get the result as false, as the AND operator requires both of the conditions to be satisfied. Now, we can write this condition in such a manner that C is equals to B plus A, which is true because B is 5 and A is 5. So the sum of them will be 10, which is also equals to C, which is 10. And we get the result as true. Now we can move on to the OR operator. And the OR operator works in this manner, that either of the conditions should be true, or both of the conditions can be true, and it will still give you the true result. In this case, we have both of the conditions true, so it will return true. Or we can make one of the conditions not satisfy the other one, in which either one of them are true. So we can see it is still returning us true, as A is equals to B, but C is not equals to B. Lastly, if none of the conditions are not satisfying the other, the OR operator will return false, as we can see here. We can lastly move on to the NOT, which works opposite to the way of the condition. In this case, we have A equals to B. Now, to understand this kind of statements, we first of all look at the actual statement, which is A is equals to B. We know that A is actually equals to B, but this, according to this complete statement, we will get the result as false. As you can see here, our answer is false. Why? Because the NOT inverts the answer. If the condition is returning true, the NOT operator will return the false. And if it is returning false, we will get the condition as true. So we can even test that with C equals to B. Because C is definitely not equals to B, it will return false. Then the NOT operator will convert it to the opposite Boolean, which is true. And we can see that true is our result. Next, let's move on to a few string handling operators, which are the concatenation operators. Concatenation operators use the same kind of operators as in arithmetic and also a newer operator. In concatenation operators, let's have string variables or character variables. We can have A as hello and B as word. Now we want the variable C to be the combination of both of these strings. We can do that in two manners. We can do A plus B. Not to be confused, this depends on the data type. If A and B are integers, the result will be the sum of both of the variables. But if A and B are strings, then the result will be the combination of both of the strings, which in this case will be hello world. And we get the result hello world. And there is no spacing because we haven't provided any spacing between them. We can also combine these operators and we can give the spacing between them in this manner. Hence, we have the spacing between them. Alternatively, we could also use the ampersand between them, which gives us the same result. Now let's move on to the assignment operators. The assignment operators are kind of like a summary of the arithmetic operators. We'll first of all go with the basic and foremost operator, which is the equals sign, which is the assignment of the right-hand side value to the left-hand side value. In this case, let's do it in this way. That will assign the value of B to C. Suppose our variable B is 10. If we'll output the value, we'll get the result as 10 as well because the value of B is assigned to C. Now, what if we wanted to use the arithmetic operators in an efficient manner? We come to the concept of compound assignment operators. To use the arithmetic operator while assigning the value, we use the plus equals sign, and then the value on the right hand side will be added to the left hand side based on the operator. In this case, this statement is also equals to this statement. Hence, we can say that this statement is much more efficient than this one. If we output it, we'll get the result as 11, as 1 has been added to the value. We can do the same thing with the minus equals to, which will give us the value 9 as 1 has been deducted from the variable B. We can do the same thing with the multiplication, where 10 is multiplied by 1 and it gives us 10 again. And then we can divide the variable with the right hand side provided value. In this case, it will give us 5. We can also use integer division, which in this case will give us 5 again as there was no remainder. We can also use the AND, but for this case, we'll need to have the variables as the strings. So if we assign this as word, and if we assigned the variable C with B, we can now get the value of C with the B. We can additionally assign the value of C as hello. So the output will be hello world. And we got the result hello world. Lastly, we can discuss the exponentiation equals to, which in this case will be the caret sign with the equal sign raised to any power. So suppose in this case, our value of B was 10. So we're raising 10 to the power 2 as specified here. And we get the result 100.